Hello and welcome to this inaugural episode of Tuning Tips by CSTuners. Kristen here, Customer Success Mega Brain, and I are kicking off a series of micro podcasts where I share how best in class companies achieve 28% higher net revenue retention and invite a thought leader to provide additional color from their experience. Kristen, thank you for your continued support and guidance, and welcome.
Andreas, thanks. I'm excited to be here to talk with you today.
The Customer Success Performance Index benchmark reveals again how champion companies achieve 28% higher net revenue retention and approach customer success differently. Today we are ending the debate on who should own renewals, upsell, and cross-sell. The great majority of champions own their own revenue destiny compared to only 50% of the lower performing tier. To you and I, this is of course no surprise.
I think that that's an important, probably the most important part of the study that we found was that those people who have responsibility and are taking responsibility for all of the aspects of customer success are seeing better results from a revenue standpoint, which is then positioning them better inside their companies, getting them more resources, and then that leads to even better performance.
Of course, there is internal resistance to allow a CS leader to be that total customer success. What advice do you have for CS leaders, Kristen?
Yeah, I think, for CS leaders who are trying to kind of grow beyond the scope of just being sort of the adoption people inside of the company, it's important to note that all of the senior executives in a company that's functioning really well have some sort of tie back to revenue. Often the entire executive team has compensation that's related to revenue results in the organization. Even people in kind of unexpected disciplines like engineering or product have ties back to revenue. They often are also compensated with a lot of stock options if they're in an earlier stage company. And so, those people also have that responsibility. And I think sometimes, especially in the past in CS, we've sort of isolated ourselves from revenue, thinking that, oh no, that's a sales thing. And so, I want to be a purist about customer success, so I'm not going to touch the money. But the reality of moving up and being a part of the ranks of an executive is to have ownership of and responsibility for revenue, regardless of your discipline. And to be accountable for that. And so if you want to rise in your career, I think you have to think about yourself as that kind of a member of your leadership team and be willing to sort of take that risk. And it is a risk. If you've never done it before, it's really hard to think about, being responsible for bringing in revenue, because it does put you in the hot seat a little bit if that's not happening. And so, but it's also how you reap the rewards of being a senior executive. So you kind of have to do that. And I think we have to stop being such purists about customer success and sort of saying, no, we're the helpers, we're the ones that are going to get adoption. And that should be part of what we do, but that's not the reason that our function exists. Our function exists because there was a need to retain customers, a need to focus on expanding customers, a need to have the customer satisfaction that leads to things like referrals that generate more revenue. All of it points back to revenue. So if you want to really lead a team at a high level, you have to be willing to take that risk.
Exactly. Does that mean, though, going back to business school? How can someone take on this revenue responsibility as an emerging CS leader?
So I think the best thing you can do is you can befriend your finance leader because you need to understand how your company and different companies measure revenue in different ways. They bucket it differently. They look at different metrics. So learn the way that your company looks at revenue, how it's broken down, which teams are responsible for it, where revenue is coming from customers versus prospects. And your finance person would probably be delighted to explain the business model to you, because they don't have very many people asking them for that, because it's kind of boring. But if they can explain it to you, then you'll understand where money is coming from and how your finance person looks at it. And that's one of the best ways to learn about this, revenue responsibility piece of your job. You don't have to go back to business school. It does help to have a few of the pieces that you learn in business school under your belt. You need to know how to look through a business model and understand what the components are. It does help to use tools like the business model canvas, where you can kind of break down how your company goes to market and the costs and the revenue centers inside your organization. But outside of that, you can go online and you can look up all that stuff. It's not a secret. You don't have to go to Stanford or anything for that. Just go online, look it up, talk to your finance person, and you can pick up all these tools. And then the other thing that I have found particularly helpful is to just get very comfortable with spreadsheets. A lot of what you need to do as a leader in any discipline is model out how you're going to run your team. You have to do projections and things like that when you're dealing with revenue. So you need to be good at building a kind of a sub business model for your own department, and Excel is the way to do that. So learn Excel. You can go to lynda.com or any of these online class places and get a class on a spreadsheet and how to use it, and you'll learn a lot by doing that, and you'll use it all the time.
I had the very same experience. Our CFO became my internal sponsor, and I built my model as a subset of theirs, which made the roll-up easy. Kristen, as always, it has been great brainstorming customer success with you. Thank you for kicking off the series of tuning tips with me.
Thanks so much, Andreas.
If you would like to benchmark yourself and receive a personalized performance report with valuable tips, please go to customersuccessperformanceindex.com. Thank you, and until the next episode, I say goodbye.